First, I want to give you a few insights into my personal journey with injury prevention and farm safety. The most important motivator in is my personal realization that I'm the greatest risk factor, and only I can change the outcome of being involved in a very dangerous career choice. My story includes two kind of stories that motivate me to be involved. One, my brother was killed when I was 15 years old. He was killed in a very preventable snowmobile accident. And he had actually just finished school and was farming, so I quit my school and have been farming since 15. The other event is when we had an employee fall asleep on the way back to work. Dairy farmers quite often have the same people milk the cows both shifts, and that becomes a long day. She had a maple tree on her way to work, and luckily airbags saved her life. And we decided at that point to address the undesirable demands of a dairy farm's long hours and break them up to make them palpable so that hiring wasn't such a task. We definitely have a larger staff now to manage, but it also allows myself and all our employees to have a life and enjoy working too. So how to get started? I've been asked to address the task of developing an active safety plan and implement it in an effective way. The first thing you have to recognize is that a safety plan is not something that you only have to do once and check it off your list. It needs to be revisited and applied on a regular basis. You have to set reasonable standards which have to be backed up by enforcement. At our farm, for high personal risk activities that require personal protection equipment, seat belts, falls arrests, you get 2 warnings. The third is termination. 2 written warnings, sorry. Your plan has to be active and present every day for it to be effective. It is essential that all members of your operation are on board with the safety plan. If all members are not in agreement, then there is no real point to go through the motions of a safety plan. Just doing the bare minimum by meeting regulatory requirements won't reduce your chances of having an accident. Firstly, compliance goes a long way when the person administrating the plan leads by example. For example, if your plan has identified ion inhalation risk and you as the owner or safety rep make personal exceptions, your safety buy-in will be very limited. On our farm, we do a major audit once a year, but I've enlisted the entire staff to monitor their work area daily and leave reports of safety deficiencies on our action board. If the item is urgent, the area will be shut down, or it will at least be serviced within 24 hours. Quite a few years ago, on our first audit, we invited our safety consultant, Jay Remzik, and one of the things he found in our farm was probably an activity that goes on probably in half the dairy farms in Canada. And that to wash milk systems, you have chlorine and acid. Two chemicals by themselves that are pretty dangerous. They're corrosive, inhalation risk. Together, though, they're reactive, and they create mustard gas. So how these chemicals are handled and that they're actually installed side by side, we have to change our protocols, have equipment and rules in place to just a simple daily activity, something that all of us just take for granted, and we do it every day, but right away from that audit, we identify that as a real risk. Our farm has many challenges when it comes to implementing an effective safety plan, the greatest being communication, with a workforce that is diversified in age, physical and mental development, and also that we have multiple shifts. So our morning shift starts at 3 o'clock in the morning, and many of our morning shifts have never met our night people. It's kind of like a hospital that has a nurse change, except that there's a big gap in between. So communication is really key, that nothing falls through the cracks for animal care, for notes, for operations. So we have this big message board that we live by, and that's our lifeline for communication and for safety. Our employees range from 14 years old, part-time students, all the way up to my 88-year-old father who helps out at harvest at times. It's a huge challenge to assess and delegate appropriate tasks to match abilities and experiences. There are certain times we don't have staff capable of operating equipment at peak harvest times. It is better to recognize this and hire custom operators than to have inexperienced persons involved in situations that put them or others at risk. At our farm, we encourage safety training from the initial job. We provide paid training for first aid, WMIS, fire safety, and other courses that we feel will add to our staff's health and longevity. Recently, we took all our supervisors to 2 off-site courses. One to expand human resource skills and identifying character types and the implications of them in the workplace, and the other, an animal psychology course to understand their other coworkers. Another critical area of risk is hiring the right people and monitoring your staff's performance, and are key factors in your exposure to personal injuries at your workplace. We have seen many times that a person's attitude and character traits can be one of the biggest factors in workplace accidents. Make sure that your family and other staff members have time for safety. Many times we get caught up in production pressures of an industry that thrives on challenges, be it weather, economics, or time. We all push the envelope of what's realistic and how much more we have to accomplish in a seemingly smaller window of time. Many of these situations seem to bend our rules on safety with the thoughts that they are exceptions to our plans. Problem is, this is when most of the serious accidents happen. Realizing this, you have to plan for all situations no matter how often they occur. It's not like we should be surprised planning our harvest has an unscheduled start and finish time. But year after year, accidents continue to peak during these stressful times. Everybody needs to take some more time for safety. The Ontario Farm Safe Plan is an excellent tool to get your farm operation a plan that covers all the bases. Unfortunately, many farmers have not invested the time, feeling that there are more pressing issues. As farms get larger and more diverse, not having a health and safety plan will not be an option. I think you have to think of it as insurance. The money it costs is small compared to the exposed risk of what could happen. That's the hardest sell in promoting safety. Many farmers accept risks of farming as an acceptable cost of a very independent industry. I believe that there are still farmers that are unaware that agriculture is covered by industry labor rules. It quite often takes a tragedy such as the multiple fatalities in Drayton to enact change in an industry. We as an industry have an opportunity to be proactive and utilize the many resources available to us to lead us towards a self-directed role in personnel management and protection. If we don't, legislation will become the driver of the future. I hope you understand the issues a little bit better now from a farmer's perspective and appreciate that safety plan is an investment for the future of agriculture in an evolving and transforming exercise. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jamie. Does anyone have any questions for Jamie?
Jamie, you introduced the two major events in your life that obviously were the foundation, but what actually triggered the day where you started your plan?
Like honestly, probably that employee.
Okay.
So we do a lot of different things now. We work share or job share. Nobody milks more than 2 days in a row. We have a 40-hour work week. Nobody works more than 45 hours a week. We pay a little bit better. There's say benefits and clothing allowances for safety wear and things like that. And we try to always at least have a couple training courses a year, whether it's falls arrest, the fire extinguisher, just anything at all that kind of engages, involves, and makes them part of the operation rather than just employees.
If I may, one follow-up question: have you seen any benefits you weren't expecting out of your efforts? They're tremendous.
Yeah, there's a lot of benefits. Again, I do think with employees, a lot of times we as farmers get caught up in things to do. And if employees, that's all they feel are, they're just machines or vehicles in which to accomplish things. But when you actually can show some care about them and their future, just again, there's so many things. Repetitive milking is a fairly tedious task. At our farm, we milk 150 cows, so it's a 3-hour shift. There's probably 2,000 operations you do in that. So we try never to have a person milk 2 days in a row. Again, there's lots of people that are out there that are doing every milking morning and night. So how long are you going to be in the industry? These are all factors. And so there's a huge benefit how long employees will have. We have many employees that have worked over 20 years at the farm. And so many times you hear farmers complain about there is no help. I really think if you assess their operations, I don't know why you'd want to work on a dairy farm. You see the ads in the paper, 65 hours a week and all these tasks. It's like, wow. I don't know why you apply for that, to work for Needle Lake. And a lot of the employers say that that's what I get, or that's what I work for. But it really isn't the whole story, and that's why there is some issues that we don't take it as a career. And again, the alarming thing is that how a lot of farmers, the only reason they kind of get involved in some of these programs is when they take on their first employee. If it's a family farm, I don't know why the family farm members aren't as important. Yep.
Jamie, do you have any employees who have worked in other industries and bring some of their safety experience to you, or have they always just worked in agriculture?
We have a whole range. So we've had some that have come from factories, and generally we find clean slates are better than messy slates. Just going by that they have no pre-existing, so you just assume that they don't know about any of the dangers, rather than actually hiring retired farmers and stuff. There's a lot of habits and behaviors you're not going to be able to change very well. But we've also had, again, when I go back to the hiring the right people, the right attitude. We hired a millwright a year ago, and a year and a half ago, he had more claims in 1 year than we had with the entire staff of 16 people. So, again, their attitude and their risk-taking part of their mantra is a huge factor, a big factor. Human element is everything.
Just to follow up to that, it's interesting you mentioned hiring other farmers and that sort of thing. I had someone recently ask a crowd of farmers if they've ever worked for anyone else other than their dad, because most of them, that's how they've never had another job, they've never been in other industries. And sometimes that's a barrier to bringing a program.
Sadly, I've never worked anywhere else, and again, because of our personal situation, that's what I didn't do, but I've always felt there's always lots of opportunities to learn, and I've been involved with Smart Risk Foundation. I don't know if anybody knows about them. Recently, they had a program through the SIB where if you, I think it was called SKIP, Safe Communities.
Incentive program?
Yeah. So by taking a 4-week course, just 1 day a week, and getting your people up to speed about returning people back into the workplace, and you got a 5% 1-year break on your premiums. And again, it's all proactive stuff that, and I learned a lot actually in that course, and it definitely was worthwhile. But there's a couple farmers came to the first meeting and never came back because they really felt it wasn't worth their time. They were interested in the premium reduction, but when they found out it was only for 1 year, they never really saw the value in the rest of it. Again, we do have an image and a time. Again, it's to borrow from Stephen Covey's the 4 important things. What's important but not urgent. That sort of fits safety. So it's hard to really show a dollar value for immediately for putting time into it, but in the long run for longevity in the industry and just